Esta ora po 7 minutos pasado las 10 que ekaan. Já efeito pagunaoni março dia 27 2024. Mangai guini di Central Justicia di Garbona Island luta para ta conducta este na hearing cosa que i comitea sinya e balua i candidato ni mapunta ni governo as Arnold I. Palacios. I candidato paguna ogani para ta ina no experiencianya, educationnya dan sensianya si Senyor Mr. Pedro Q. de la Cruz, residente Guinigiza Luta. Apunta si Senyor de la Cruz para un membro que Marianas Public Land Trust como uno na trustee. Ya este na junta aberto para toda a comunidade, cosa que se não participar, Guinigi pati na no democracia Guinigi Islata Marianas. Beo reconhece pago se Mr. Devin Macaranas awagan ni man membro hudo que este na komite. Senyor Macaranas.
Senator Selena R. Babalta.
Presente.
Senator Karina L. McGoffin. Senator Paul A. McGoffin. Here. Senator Donald M. Maloney.
Present.
Madam Chair, 3 members are present, 1 member is absent.
Since a small seat, Mr. Macaranas, with 3 members present, we have established the necessary quorum to conduct today's official meeting. Senator Corina was trying to get on virtually to join us in this meeting. Unfortunately, the internet here at the courthouse is having issues, so our IT will not be able to have her log in. Antes de conseguimos na zona by faisalando cooperação miso, por favor, na silêncio telefone miso, porque menos estou buscando no distraction set durante o meeting. Vai introduzir pago individual sia gini Legislative Bureau ni man assiste gini na komite e abot garden mommy si Mr. Jose del Bermudez e Legislative Assistant si Devin Macaranas assistant hingo ka i latafta. I IT guisa mo manenea todo i internet zani camera siya zani microphone si Senyor Jonathan Diaz zan lokwe para ubahan no adelanto gini gesti siya na meeting ang makondukta i Sergeant at Arms si Mr. Benter Lahi then Mr. John Dilambero. I will now recognize Senator Paul Maloney for the proper motion to adopt today's agenda.
So move, Madam Chair, for the adoption of our agenda today.
This is Small State Senator Paul. Motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any concerns or objections on the motion? There being none raised, the agenda for today's meeting is duly adopted at this point. I will now invite Mr. John Paul Benavente Regis, the representative from the Office of the Governor, and the candidate himself, Mr. Pedro Q. de la Cruz, to please come and join us. Si Senyor Regis, representa Guinea na ugan i oficina ni Magadlahi para introduce i candidato para este na komite. Jan posangan didi no pot i zonya background. Cosa que sinya i komedia tungo mas pot si Senyor de la Cruz. Mr. Regis, you have the floor when you're ready.
Half a day. Good morning, Chairwoman Selena R. Babalta, and honorable members of the Executive Appointments and Government Investigations Committee. For the record, my name is John Paul V. Regis, Acting Special Assistant for the Administration under the Office of the Governor. On behalf of the Honorable Governor Arnold I. Palacios and Honorable Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatek, I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am here to introduce the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's nominee, Mr. Pedro P. Q. de la Cruz, for the Marianas Public Land Trust Board of Trustees, representing the 1st Senatorial District of this distinct and unique island of ROTA. By this time, you should have in your possession his resume, which showcases his professional experiences and education. A pioneer with an extensive background, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth. In this capacity, Mr. De La Cruz is a strong candidate for this position. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apton place their full trust and confidence on Mr. De La Cruz to serve as an MPLT Board of Trustee. I am sure that he stands prepared to answer any questions and stands ready to present his plans for the future. Thank you, Jesus Mosi Zangiliso, for the opportunity to introduce him to this august body.
Jesus Mosi, Senor Regis. Estamos nós a introduzir candidatos ao que na de Ubaba e Piso para a comunidade que se não participar o fanmana e testemunho para o candidato. Jangan hoje malago papaisalam sa por favor pen sagan na ang nizo que sinya ma record jan lokwit no jangan mananay tayo gini ni pakte di testimonyo mo. Por favor, na yung kopya kasi sinabi na patigesti siya na record. The floor is now open for public comments. Yes, please use the microphone. Sorry.
Buenos días. Buenos días. Madam Chair, Senators, members of this honorable committee. My name is Juan Pan Tenor Guerrero. I appear before you this morning on behalf of candidate or nominee Pete De La Cruz. I have the experience, Madam Chair, of working with Pete De La Cruz while I was chair of the retirement fund. Pete was a member at the same time. And I may add, it is very appropriate because it was through our office at the retirement fund that we introduced the money managers that now operate the MPLT or provide the investment counseling and recommendation to MPLT. I've known Pete for many years. I think more than necessary. But I know him way beyond the normal scope of knowing a person. I know his financial background as he's required by law to file for his holdings, financial holdings, so that I hope that the Office of the Public Auditor is requiring that. I know Pete because he manages and owns one of the business that granted him the rights for Western Union here in ROTA as the general agent for Western Union in the Sinamay. We have been working with Pete for many years and his company. I, again, known Pete for his due diligence, especially during our term in the retirement, trying to ensure that the assets of the corporation were protected. And also during my term, I made it mandatory that all our board members go through the fiduciary seminar. And one of the most important aspects of this fiduciary, the professor who provided the instruction asked us if we accomplish or determine that we have provided all the necessary due diligence in keeping our fiduciary. And he said, it's not only that you protect the asset and question the liabilities or operation of the is for you to continue asking yourself, have you provided that necessary element to ensure that the assets of the MPLT in which he is being appointed to be a member is fully protected. That I can vouch for on behalf of Pete, that he went through that process and fully understood the meaning of fiduciary duties and responsibilities. I do not have written remarks. I wish that I had taken the time to write down my remarks so that it's easy to read and it's well organized. But I'm sure that Pete has a 7-page or 10-page remark, so to minimize that effort. Again, I stand fully endorsing him as a private citizen, a business citizen, and a resident of ROTA. To have Pete represent us honorably in this appointment. And again, I'll be the first to stand up and say, Pete, you're wrong in that decision. And I know that he will listen, provided that the arguments are forthcoming and the arguments are legitimate in his role as a trustee. I place my confidence in this guy next to me, and I'm sure he's not gonna cry over spilled water. But I feel very confident that, again, Madam Chair, appointment by the governor for him to be a trustee is fully protected and mandated by the law as soon as possible. Thank you.
Jesus Moses, you have one Guerrero. The floor is still open for public comments.
Confidades and Tiro, honorable members of this committee. As a trustee of the esteemed Marianas Public Land Trust, I am here before you today with a profound sense of honor and duty, advocating for the appointment of Mr. Pedro Q. de la Cruz to serve on the Marianas Public Land Trust Board. Allow me to express my unwavering confidence in Mr. de la Cruz's capabilities and character, forged through my personal interactions and personal observations. My name is Carla Nao Kamatsu, and having had the privilege of working as a board assistant during Mr. de la Cruz's tenure at the NMI Retirement Fund, I can attest to his exemplary leadership and dedication to public service. I witnessed firsthand the caliber of his intellect, the depth of his integrity, and the unwavering commitment he brings to every endeavor. In reflecting on my experiences with Mr. de la Cruz, I am reminded of the profound impact he had on me personally and professionally. His mentorship provided me with invaluable insights, shaping not only my understanding of governance, but also instilling in me a deep sense of responsibility towards our community. With your consideration, I will be privileged to now have the opportunity to collaborate with him as fellow trustees. While Mr. de la Cruz's credentials speak volumes, encompassing a wealth of experience, a stellar educational background, and active involvement in prestigious organizations within the CNMI, it is his passion for service and his unwavering dedication to the betterment of our islands that truly sets him apart. His track record of excellence and commitment to transparency and accountability make him an ideal candidate for the role of trusteeship. As you convene to deliberate on Mr. de la Cruz's confirmation, the trustees of MPLT urge this esteemed committee to consider not only his impressive qualifications, but also the profound impact he is poised to have on the MPLT board. With great anticipation, we look forward to witnessing the positive contributions he will undoubtedly make to our community through his service in this vital capacity. Thank you.
Cesar Marcet, Ms. Camacho. The floor is still open for public comments.
Good morning, honorable members, Madam Chair Ngabauta, and members of this committee. My name is Rodney James S. Taiska. I am here in support of the nomination of the governor for Mr. Pedro Q. de la Cruz. I have confidence in him that he can manage and support the trustee, the board of MPLT trustee. So I've worked with him for many years, and I honestly know that he's I trust him, and I know he can do the job. So I'm here and I'm in support of him, and I urge each of you guys, members, to confirm him to the board of MPLT. Thank you.
Cesar Marcet, Senor Taiska. The floor is still open for public comments.
Buenos días, Sarahako, Madam Chair, Senator Donald, and Senator Paul. Zan todo i mangai gwinisia na man matososo ge alon ofisinan mitu. Inaano si Angela Manglonya. Gumaga gitu gwini para bay nais sa pagtasyon si Mr. Pete de la Cruz sa SST nataw-taw magahit may isangan law. Ko lang istano, sige muna i-komento sa todo man masangan ni Hafa si Pete. Laman din ang siya siya man masangan. Pagwaho ba sangan na no si Pete agasaan no businessman jam atungo man mania sa lapi. Jan seryoso na taw-taw, jan honesto. Pues dinansi i-goberno hinapunta niya para MPLT as Mr. Pete de la Cruz. Pues azige na no gininifundo ni Corazono ufafaisin hamzo na por favor kausinya ang konsidera gi Corazon Mizolokwi jan confirma si Pete sa Guiza dinansi na kandidato para na no board MPLT. Tangkulo na si Jesus Masi, da si Jesus Masi na pinatin mizo magi, da para takanita dan manali winigi tanong taluta si Jesus Masi da si Jesus yung pambilindisi.
Cesar Marcet, Senora Manglonya.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Senator Donald, Senator Cole. For the record, my name is Albert Taitano, and I'm here in support of Uncle Pete's nomination to the Board of Trustees. Madam Chair and Senator Cole, Senator Donald, I'm confident that Uncle Pete will do a good and honest job with MPLT, and I'm confident that he will safeguard the assets of MPLT. And for that reason, I'm asking for this committee to confirm Uncle Pete's nomination. Thank you.
Cesar Marcet, Senor Taitka. The floor is still open for public comments.
Good morning. My name is Eugene Wu. I'm here in support of Mr. Pedro de la Cruz, nominated to the Board of Appealty. I have known Mr. de la Cruz for, wow, a lot of times, both professionally and personally. So I believe he's qualified to be placed on this board. So I ask the members of this panel to confirm him to the Board of Appeal.
Cesar Swanson, Mr. Ogle. The floor is still open for public comments.
Buenos días, Honorable Senador Babauta, members of this committee. At this debate, tafsila malago ba Vice-Senam Lunar Tracy Taiwin. Kasi Mr. De La Cruz sa submiti todo dokumento na gagagaw para pago na kesyo.
Kung ganun sa kabesawan na nung
Okay, si Rus Masi. Hafa mura ka Vice-Senam zo. Sa tanong Reno lo wala na homework po submiti dokumento siya. Ana seryoso yung matagugo niya. Las Rus Masi, Mr. De La Cruz, nang submiti sa mga documents. Pues bisa pagos niya deserve para bagagaw sige suputasyon gini zona nominee para uno na prohimo na para atendi warahi ekonomiya Marianas gini gimananiya perti utungo si Pedro de la Cruz uno sila kulan sanan mami galong familia da visa monalem pago direksyon gimolik ng tunas na manera. Ugo frispeta este na saina do tunga na siyempre ano ay atensyon para todos Islas Marianas di matagugo niya dan obligasyon niya ito niya fiduciary duties ni uang okto sa kopi aga sa businessman legitimate na business visa ha betul la prohimo di business banapapasi maski $10 an hour di empleo la di Departamento Labor, okay, akong apply to do a requirement. Honesto na businessman este. Pues gineneste, una na si Mrs. De La Cruz, okay, lokulo na si Jesus mo si nagtumutugi gagapahan niya este, la prohimo. Visa este, guardian komunidad para Marianas. So en mas, ugagago azulon mizo, suportasyon mizo, ojalá mo na Gigo na moradan todo este la ocasión pago na ogan confirma. Lo ano pa sepa lo chogi che chonya sa malilingwit kalet. Ang kupi suleste acceptanas sa chogi malik para to Marianas si Susmas.
Antes dinding may microphone po tapos sinyo sangan ni namo ko.
O si Prodesyo Manglonia suludanon duta sila pa.
Cesar Swanson, Sr. Manonia. The floor is still open for public comments. If there are none, we will close this portion of public comments for this morning, and we will refer back to it this afternoon when we hear and vet the nomination for Ms. Chanel Manglonia, nominated to be a trustee also for the Northern Marianas Technical Institute. But for the record, the committee did not receive any letters in opposition of Mr. De La Cruz's nomination. And aside from the fiscal testimonials today, the committee also received a letter of support from Ms. Avery H. Cowell, resident department head of the Department of Finance, ROTA, and Dr. Rita Alban Sablon, acting chair of the Marianas Public Land Trust in Saipan. Mr. De La Cruz was nominated by Governor Palacios, and I will now invite Mr. De La Cruz to please rise and raise your right hand. And Mr. Macaronis will administer the oath to you.
Pedro Q. De La Cruz, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. You may be seated. Mr. De La Cruz was nominated by then Acting Governor David Apatang on January 11, 2024, to serve as a trustee of the Marianas Public Land Trust to represent the 1st Senatorial District of ROTA. His supporting documents were received by the committee on January 31st, 2024. And Mr. De La Cruz, I will now give you the floor to make your remarks, should you choose to do so. The floor is
Thank you,
open.
Madam Chair. And first of all, on behalf of my wife, myself, I would like to extend Dr. Nasiju's mercy to those people that have attested to my credentials, and also asking an endorsement of their support of my confirmation. Nasiju's mercy. Okay? And, dear Chairperson Babalta and members of the committee, I am appearing here today before this august body, seeking your committee's endorsement and support for the Senate confirmation of my nomination to serve as a member of the Marianas Public Land Trust, which is MPLT, to represent ROTA 1st Senatorial District. I accept my nomination by the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor to be part of this important agency in order to work collectively with the other trustees in pursuing to better manage the investment revenue currently being undertaken for greater return. The Marianas Public Land Trust was originally created by the first Constitutional Convention in 1976 on Public Law 94-241, which is the covenant to establish a Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in political union with the United States. In retrospect, allow me to enlighten the committee of how the Marianas Public Land Corporation, which is now the Department of Public Land, and the Marianas Public Land Trust were created by the first Constitutional Convention in 1976. The delegates' primary concern at that time were how to manage the limited available public land, as well as creating an institution to manage and invest prudently the revenues derived from public land compensation. The undersigned was the delegate for the first Constitutional Convention and served as Vice Chairman on Finance and Taxation Committee. It was the Natural Resources Committee that proposed the creation of the Marianas Public Land Corporation with the prime responsibility to manage public land in the Commonwealth and also create the Marianas Public Land Trust to manage revenues and invest prudently to enhance economic development for the benefit of the people of the Commonwealth, and particularly of those Northern Marianas descent. Article 11, Section 4, established the Marianas Public Land Corporation, and Section 6, the Marianas Public Land Trust by the Constitution. The Constitution mandated the trustees of the Marianas Public Land Trust to make prudent and reasonable investment derived from public land leases and transfer the interest earned minus the reasonable expenses to the general revenue for appropriation by the legislature, which is you. In order to achieve this responsibility with respect to monies received from the Department of Public Land, The trustees are required to make reasonable, careful, and prudent investment. It is therefore important, and I want to emphasize this, that the trustees monitor the revenue collected by the Department of Public Land and make sure that the net revenues are transferred yearly, not 3 or 4 years later. Without fail, to the Marianas Public Land Trust. The Marianas Public Land Trust additional responsibility is to manage a separate trust fund for the development and maintenance of the American Memorial Park. Ms. Chairwoman and members of this committee, my presentation before you is a purview of the mandates provided by the Constitution and the covenant of which I am prepared to undertake as a trustee. This goal can only be made with your blessing on my confirmation as trustee for the Marianas Public Land Trust. I would be remiss if I do not mention that I was very much involved in the early stage of planning the future development of our great Commonwealth when I was the District Economic Development Officer from 1969 to 1978 for the Marianas District during the Trust Territory of the Pacific Island Administration, and most notably, as Chairman of the Foreign Investment Board, of which, whose responsibility was to review and approve viable foreign investment proposals. I also served as Chairman for the Mariana Island Housing Authority during its formative years, and of which programs are now providing sanitary and safe housing to our citizens. And also during those formative years, we formalized an agreement with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to provide funding for the community development programs, of which there are many completed community projects within the Commonwealth. I also served as Vice Chairman of the Mariana Island Airport Authority, now the Commonwealth Ports Authority, during its formative years. This again, during the formative years when air service to the Marianas was just starting to expand. The most notable project that we accomplished at that time was the construction of the arrival and departure building at Saipan International Airport and the ROTA Airport building and runway. This project was accomplished by negotiating with a private sector to finance the construction project in exchange for a long-term exclusive duty-free retail outlet within the airport. The board, together with the Marianas District Administration, decided to take this option because of the non-existence of public fund at that time. In 1978, when the first government was established, I was appointed as the Director of the Department of Public Land, Director of Land and Natural Resources, a newly created department combining agriculture, animal health and services, land management, land commission, marine resources, and park and recreation. I was responsible in formulating the new development plan and services. The department was also tasked to develop the initial food stamp program for the Commonwealth to be submitted to the Department of Agriculture, of which the plan called for 25% of the total food stamp annual funding to be reserved for local agricultural produce, poultry, meat production, as well as fish. The undersigned presented the plan to the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. for their review and approval. The food stamp plan was immediately approved and implemented in the Commonwealth. The immediate reaction by USDA was positive, recognizing the importance in incorporating the provision to include the purchases of local produce, of agricultural goods, meat production, and fish to support the food stamp program in the Commonwealth. The food stamp program now is thriving, supporting thousands of recipients, buying local produce agricultural products and locally caught fish. In 1994, I was again appointed as Secretary of Commerce and Labor. Subsequently, the department was split into two separate agencies, a Department of Commerce and Department of Labor, and I remained the Secretary of Commerce. The most notable accomplishment during my tenure as Secretary of Commerce was the production of the 5-year Economic Development Plan for the Commonwealth. This plan was formulated by a group of private business representatives from the Saipan Chamber of Commerce and our Department of Professional Staff. The final plan listed various urgent public infrastructures such as water line, electrical parks, expansion within the Commonwealth. The 5-year economic development was promulgated and adopted by the former Governor Farlante Nora's administration. The undersigned, together with representatives of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce, traveled again to Washington, D.C. and presented the 5-year plan to the Economic Development Agency, the Department of Commerce, with positive results. Notable projects funded by EDA were power and line expansion for Saipan and ROTA, power and line expansion to the rural and outlying areas. Water lines connection was extended from Songson Village to Puenya Point at this time. For the benefit of the committee and fully understand my qualification to serve as a trustee, the undersigned was also a former trustee for the Northern Mariana Island Fund from 2007 to 2010. The Retirement Fund trustee main responsibility is to manage corporate funds for the funds and invest in the world market in reasonable and prudent investment. This responsibility is similar to the Public Land Trust mandate. During my tenure as trustee with the Retirement Fund, I had the experience to deal with Merrill Lynch, fund consultant, as well as many managers who are active in investing their retirement fund monies in Wall Street and other licensed investment firms. With this particular experience, I feel that I'm qualified to serve as a trustee for the Marianas Public Land Trust, and in addition, with my education and many years of experience with the Commonwealth government and my business background, I feel that I'm fully prepared to partake in the vital role of safeguarding the trust investment for this prestigious agency, the Marianas Public Land Trust. As a trustee, I will hold my fiduciary duty to uphold the mandate fully and preserve the sanctity of this office. With my experience and dedication to the betterment of the Commonwealth, I am again offering my service to the people of this great Commonwealth. I'm now ready to answer any question the committee may have relative to my appointment as trustee, and thank you on behalf of I, Shirley Pedro de la Cruz. Thank you.
This is Marce, Senor de la Cruz. And on behalf of the committee, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to your spouse, Ms. Geraldine de la Cruz, and other family members. Ms. de la Cruz was my second grade teacher at Our Lady of Mount Carmel School in Saipan, so I thank you, Mrs. de la Cruz, for being here today. I would also like to recognize the presence of Mr. Dean Mangonia, Chief of Staff to Mayor Aubrey Mangonia. Hokuk, and Mr. Fred Mangonia, Vice Chair of the ROTA Municipal Council. Welcome, gentlemen. We will now begin.
Madam Chair, since you're recognizing people in the gallery, I'd like to recognize our councilman also here with us this morning, Councilman Freddie Mangonia, and also resident director, a couple resident directors in the back. And thank you for your presence.
My apologies. Thank you, Senator Paul. We will now begin the question and answer portion. And would you like to volunteer to go first? Or I can start, but I will yield to Senator Paul this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for all our residents here participating in this public hearing this morning. Dr. Narcisus Monse para Toto Samzo Zan Luki bago po na matanso si Mr. Pete de la Cruz na gobernota na segundo gobernota no gagi kompensan niya na para bisan no maganji para este na preciso na board este MPLT disita na ta pegaluki tautogi na no atuho siya kumadya muna ipingkas dan manaba programa pues no si just mosin na nagsertesti. Madam Chair, before we proceed, I just want to clarify, because I understand that former Congressman Biani Hoku was serving in this board. So is the nominee filling the remainder of the term, or is this a 6-year term? Maybe
Okay.
the legal counsel just, do we understand the appointment?
I believe my nomination is to continue
Unexpired term.
the remaining years of Mr. Hoko, which is, I still have to do until 1926, I believe, which is 4 years.
Based on the nomination letter from Acting Governor David M. Apatang, Mr. De La Cruz was nominated on January 11th to serve the unexpired term of
Yes.
Mr. Vianney B. Hokog, which will expire on January 9th, 2028.
Yeah.
Also, so at least 3-4 more years, no? Okay, just wanted to clarify that. No, I wonder, I just want to ask the nominee, are you aware of House Bill 2395? The legislation that is, or that was before both houses, and I understand there is a conference committee set up to, address the differences between the House and the Senate. Are you aware of that legislation?
Are you saying that it requires the confirmation of the House and the Senate?
Oh, no, I'm talking about House Bill 2395. I'm just asking.
Otherwise known as the MPLT
The MPLT,
line of
yes.
credit.
The line of credit that we're proposing.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you're
This
aware.
is actually, the line of credit is a good program, okay?
Oh, no, well, this particular bill was introduced to assist the administration in finding financial resources so that there can be a bridge financing, because EDA project, you mentioned about
Yes,
EDA project.
you know.
Now they require that the contractor is paid before they can get reimbursed or before they can fund the project. So we have roughly about $100 million that were approved by EDA, and before they can give us the funding, they want to make sure that we pay upfront first the contractor, and then and only then would they get reimbursed. So that's the subject, the purpose for House Bill 2395. And I think the House passed it, simple legislation. The Senate, we amended it. The House rejected it, so now it's the subject of a conference committee before the Senate. And I just point that out because this is going to be one of the first issues, maybe a priority when you enter MPLT. So I just recommend that maybe you read up, get a copy of the legislation, and because this is going to be a subject matter that is of grave concern for the administration in order to move the project for $100 million.
Senator, as I said, that the availability of the line of credit is actually a positive development. And with the intention to make sure that certain percentage, a certain amount is reserved for the two island is very novel, okay? But to make sure, that things get moving. As you know, that in the past, that was the reason why a lot of the projects, especially with the economic development grant and other grants, that you cannot move forward because of the requirement that the funds gotta have to be invested and then you apply for reimbursement, which probably the application and the availability of this line of credit will probably move projects accordingly. You know, and I agree.
So basically, that's the intent of House Bill 2395. There's a monkey wrench in there because I'm going to make a long story short, and maybe this is a subject matter that later on we can discuss what is the concern. The concern basically is that the future income distribution, future increased income distribution will guarantee this loan to the administration.
Oh, yes.
And because it guarantees that, ROTA and Antinian members were concerned because if this is not paid, then future increased distribution would be confiscated to pay for this loan. And for that reason that we're asking MPLT to, because the 100 million do not include any project for ROTA and Tinian, we're asking that MPLT include in that line of credit an additional 2 million to so that we can also move at least some project on ROTA Tinian. And so I think this is a little bit sensitive matter, but something that you need to sit down with members of the delegation and the legislature, so that the main point is we need to move this legislation. We need the support of MPLT, and also we hope that it will not hamper CHCC's intent to also come to your board to borrow money for critical financial challenges facing CHCC.
The only reservation that, of course, I agree and I am in agreement with that bill, but the only reservation that I have is what if the project is more than 1 million? Okay? You know, that the trustee would be amenable to.
Well, as far as the, again, I do not want to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
I just thought I'll bring it up to you so you can then get up to speed.
Yes.
But the money is not to fund the whole project. It's just so that it can have the incremental progress payment, and then submit that to EDA. EDA immediately writes to the copy.
Yes, of course, because the line is a revolving line of credit. This is, as you expend, you submit your expenditure and the funds become available. This line of credit is nothing new. I have done it, and I have my line of credit with my bank, of which I use that to purchase and finance whatever projects I have, of which is available. I will use the line. When I use it, I pay back the line and it becomes available. It is a revolving line.
And the concern comes into play when the government doesn't pay this, then they will confiscate increased payment.
Unless there is a, what do you call this? There's a glitch.
So we don't expect, I guess, you to fully understand this, but we appreciate trustee to get up to speed so we can discuss.
Yes, I agree with you.
My other concern I want to ask Mr. Cruz is, I hope that you can also look at these housing loan programs with MPLT. I know that in the past they have a housing loan program with NMHC, and I guess later on they were not collecting payments, and MPLT took over and actually started administering the program and collecting the payments. I bring this up because I know that on Saipan, after the typhoon, there were a lot of funding available for disaster relief. They were mostly affected by the typhoon U2, I don't think we have a lot of people, residents of ROTA who took advantage of that program, maybe miss out on the opportunity. And as a result, there are still some residents here that are in need of financing renovation or construction of new homes. And I think this is where MPLT can help, especially nowadays when people are talking about, NMDs and how the MPLT money is benefiting NMDs. So I think that this is an area that if we consider making funding available for low income, and also I want to emphasize for middle income, because for middle income young people also, it's difficult because there's no program that helps these middle income people, young people, because if they go to the bank, they're required to pay, I think, 20% of the loans. So nowadays, the homes are 200,000 up to 200, 250. You know that, and 20% of that is 40 to 50,000. I don't think any young kid would have 40,000 sitting in a bank account to get 200,000 from the bank. So I think that we need to take care of also the middle income, but of course, our priority are those in the low income bracket. And unfortunately, a lot of our people miss out on that opportunity of ROTA program that was initially to be partial loan, partial grant, that eventually became total grant. So I think there's only like 14 on ROTA that applied and took advantage of that. So they're fortunate, but I know that we still have more people that are in need of building homes. So I just mentioned that to have MPLT look into that. As a matter of fact, I also have a legislation that will require you under the old housing program, homes that were foreclosed, to require you to only be able to sell it to NMDs or to homesteaders that are pre-qualified, because right now MPLT is just offering that out to the market and anybody can come in and submit a bid and buy the house. I don't think that's right, because these are homestead lots, mainly most of them, and if MPLT forecloses on them, they should be given a low interest rate to homesteaders instead of putting them out in the open market for anyone with money to just bid. That's the concern that I have with some of these foreclosed homes. And Mia, I just want to bring that out to get you start to thinking on these housing issues. I want to share, I have several, but I'm just going to bring one more. I want to give opportunity to the other members. Right now, ROTA Resort is still under litigation. If I'm not mistaken, though, DPL has come out or is ready to come out with a decision on the what do you call that, abandonment case before DPL. So if I'm not mistaken, by the end of the year, I'm almost, I was there listening to the hearings between ROTA Resort owner, Mr. Cho, and DPL, and I am very confident that DPL will get that back. And so I just want to mention this, that although you are not in DPL, you are MPLT and you are the beneficiary of whatever lease payment and all that. So I hope that MPLT can play a major role in I guess, finding a partner for the people of ROTA and CNMI, whoever comes in to develop that. As you know, that's ROTA Resort is more than 200 hectares. That's a major asset of DPL, and that's going to be revenue stream for MPLT, right? If they lease that out, if they have a good development. And so I think that MPLT has to play a role with DPL in the
Yes, so I agree with you, that MPLT should take an active role into this, because because MPOT will probably the beneficiary of its land compensation to make sure that it continues. And the success and the reopening of this agreement, of this company or the resort will be beneficial to all of us. And I will take this matter to the attention of the rest of the trustee, should I be confirmed, to address your concern as well as not the concern, but the people's concern here.
And I bring this up because it doesn't only concern ROTA, it concerns Sin and my wife, especially on the island of Saipan. Also, we have the former Camp Pacific, the Marianas Resort.
Yeah.
That again, I think is more than 300 hectares. Sitting idle, doing we're not getting any revenue. I know that there's a legal issue there that they're going to court with, but those are areas that the government has to tackle immediately. So the sooner the better we can get. I believe there's a investor trying to put in a 200 million investment there. So I mentioned this just like Kingfisher. Those are actually DPL, but those are your assets, right?
Right. Yeah.
The lease of those. So I think MPLT needs to play a key role also, right? Right to sit down with DPL.
That is exactly what I'm saying. You know, the DPL has, the MPLT has a greater, what do you call this? No responsibility to make sure that those facilities are operating again, so that revenues will continue to come in. Okay, so it will be beneficial for us to get those moving. And this is going back to your comments in regards to the locals housing and all like that for people. I know for a fact that when the Northern Mariana Island Retirement Fund was in existence, we were providing housing assistance to low income, which funding came from MPLT. You know, okay? So those are the things that we can revisit and see what kind of assistance can we provide. Because the concept and the purpose of establishing, and for us to maintain with interest and the funds, this is why we're doing this, so that we can pass on the development. Just like the idea that Senator Magofnia has indicated, that the Department of Public Land and MPOT must get together and start what he calls doing a better assessment of the development of the homestead program. That before the homestead program is to be open, you're gonna have to have the infrastructure there.
And so that's good that you mentioned that, because right now it's not in the Constitution.
You know,
there is a bill to allow them to use for homestead.
And that is what I've been trying to tell everybody in government, that why open a big portion of land for homesteading program, and then you give the homestead permit, you tell those permittee to go out there and build. We finish, what are they gonna do? No water, no power. You know? But then again, this is an issue that needs to work together with the planning of government planning for development, especially you see in the government, whether they're going to be providing the infrastructure to the area. So you asked the question, which
So
one?
that's something that you need to discuss with your
Yes.
colleagues, because I think in the past, the resistance was coming also from MPLT, because it will lessen the
You know,
revenue transfer
you know,
to MPLT from
You know,
EPL.
and those are the projects that falls under the revenue of MPLT. And at the same time too, it can be sent to the legislature for appropriation. We can all work together.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Paul. I now recognize Senator Donald Miguel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning and congratulations, Mr. De La Cruz, on your nomination to serve as a trustee for MPLT. I just want to go back to the House bill that Senator Paul brought up, which is 2395. A conference committee was created, which I chair, along with my fellow colleagues here present today, to serve on this conference committee to address the concerns that the House brought up. And I hope that this is something that, if you get confirmed, something that you can discuss with the fellow trustees to determine maybe the verbiage or maybe the mechanisms in which we can address some of the concerns from the House, because that went from, the initial bill went from a 15 million line of credit to a 13 million line of credit, in addition to 2 million loan provided to the senatorial districts, first and second senatorial districts. And so it's now not just a line of credit bill, but more of a public debt bill. And so I think that's one of the main concerns of the House that rejected the bill, because the Senate added in the 2 million loan provided for the senatorial district. So I hope that if you get confirmed by the time the conference committee meets, you can discuss with the trustees on what would be the best mechanism to
Probably that would be a
approve,
good idea to get the trustees to come in and
to
discuss
give
that.
confidence to the House members and all the conferees on how we can proceed with this bill. But, provided that the interest income will be used to pay that loan to the senatorial district. So I think that's another mechanism that the House is having concerns over. But speaking about the interest income, I hope this is something that maybe you and the other trustees, along with your fellow trustee that's present here today, Ms. Trustee Camacho, is maybe if you can provide some recommendations to the legislature on how we can probably reinvest interest income that comes into the CNMI government. In the past fiscal years, we get anywhere between 1 to 2 million in interest income, which, in essence is used to help support operations. But, if we can reinvest that interest income so that we can grow that pot of money that comes into the CNMI government, or that can be used to distribute it out to NMDs, I hope that's something that with the investment expertise within the trustees, that could be recommended, and that's something that we can change in through legislation and reinvest that money, or put it somewhere, set it aside, like maybe call it a stabilization fund for further emergencies, or in times of crisis when we don't have the necessary revenue to support government operations. So I hope that with this 1 to 2 million that we get each year, that's something that, rather than going to the general fund, could be reinvested and earn money on top of what you're already earning through the monies you receive from DPL. I know that in our prior hearings with other trustee members as well as MPLT, one of the biggest concerns that they have is getting the financial statements from DPL. Excuse me. So I hope that's something that, if confirmed, that when you get in there, to work with DPL and try to get a clear picture of, all the revenues received from public lands, so that you have an idea of how much what the true figure is of what should be going to MPOT so that you can reinvest that.
You know, Senator, one of my foremost concerns is that being new as a trustee, that I would request and revisit DPL and conduct and provide an inventory of all the land lease, all the revenue generating, and see where we are, okay? Because I'm sure over the years, you know, when that's why I mentioned in my testimony that the trustees gotta have to be on top of this, monitor the yearly income collected by the Department of Public Land, and see also whether their expenses are reasonable, whether it is not overly, what do you call this, budget, so that we can have a viable and correct amount that's coming in to DPL, so that that amount of money can be reinvested. You know, that I've been reading over the years, you know, the problem between, you know, okay? It seems like there is a power play between DPL and MPLT. And we're gonna have to come in and say, hey, let's stop this. Let's start from the beginning and let's see what we have. We're gonna have to conduct an inventory. And that's the only way that we can find out exactly what is on the table, what is its worth. You know, and let me reiterate this, that when the first Commonwealth established and DPL was also created, an MPLT, that I know that the plan at that time was to conduct an appraisal of all the public land together, so that we will know what we have, what is our assets. But it was never done. Up until now, there is no appraisal conducted of the entire public land issue from the beginning. So here it is. When we discuss about what is our value, what do we have as assets, we're just throwing it out from, you know, out in the air. But if you have that, you will know exactly what is your assets. And it is not late to engage the service to do an appraisal of the entire Marianas, to see what's actually what we have, what are our assets, what is our net worth. That is my concern.
Yeah. And it's the same concerns that have been shared with the other MPLT trustees.
Yeah.
So I was wondering to what extent has the trustee gone to seek this information other than simple requests or a phone call? I mean, it seems like DPL is very secretive with the income, the revenue they're generating, because they want to set aside some of these funds or to use for other operational needs. And so I hope that that's something that, when you get in there, if you get in there, that's something that you can also push towards getting these reports done.
We will push that, and
also,
here is another trustee of which she is a witness to our discussion.
Yeah, and to share the challenges that you're having so that we can also, step in and try to get that for you. Because I know also one of the goal of another member of the committee here is trying to get DPL to start the comprehensive land use plan, and so that could determine.
That we gotta do a
available
comprehensive
resources.
inventory.
Right. What is your opinion on finally allowing or using the interest income to distribute out to the beneficiaries, whether it be in a form of like a yearly royalty, or is that something that you think maybe should be, we should start a program that provides housing assistance or medical assistance?
Can you repeat that again, please?
So this interest income that we receive from MPOT that goes into the general fund, I know that the Senate President introduced an initiative to finally use that to invest in housing or healthcare programs that would directly benefit the NMPs. Is that something that
Yes.
you would support?
The concept of the benefit to the Northern Mariana descent, okay, is part of the creation of the limited land ownership, okay. And I must say this, that even during the time that when I was first worked for the administration, there was no plan at all. Nobody knows what's going on, how to manage land. So during our discussion with that, I mentioned during the Constituent Convention, because we're discussing to limit land ownership. I say, hey, why don't we pattern this program to the Indian Reservation Clause, of which that was what we were actually adopting, and we don't even know. Because the Indian Reservation Clause in the United States, within the reservation, only Indians that are registered as full Indians can own land. Okay? So therefore, that clause was actually transferred here, saying that the limitation of land ownership must be based on blood centers of land. And that is true exactly with the Indian Reservation Clause. I know this because we live in an area where we were staying in the States with the northern Indian tribes, that they have their land. That even if a full Indian married to a non-Indian, actually the wife cannot own land. But here, we established this, that there is this within the law, should be reserved one portion for the spouse. But if the Indian, no. So this is how we do this. So therefore, revenues that are derived from due use should be used also to develop and for the benefit of the Northern Mariana descent. And I totally agree with that.
Thank you. And last recommendation, no one can seem to give a straight answer as to how many NMDs there are in the CNMI. I know the CEC is in charge of registering NMDs. I don't think MPOT has that figure. I mean, that's something that I think MPOT should understand and be aware of what that number is, because those are the people that you're serving, right? Those are the people that should be benefiting. So I hope that that's something that MPOT can work with maybe DPL and CEC to determine the true figure, so that we have a better understanding of the populations that MPOT serves, and what the benefits would be to those individuals. right now, the process is as simple as going to CEC and registering, but we don't have a figure as to.
You know
we're only
that
talking
is-
about registered voters, but not their dependents who are.
You know that that's correct, and nobody knows exactly what the number, but you know, that is why the Indigenous Affairs Office, that's their responsibility. Do a comprehensive registration, okay? But that's it. What can I say? Procrastination. Okay, no?
Thank you. Well, thank you for that suggestion too, because I know we have the resident executive for Indigenous Affairs up for confirmation also, so that's something that we can also share with Ms. Luala. And so that's all I have. I just wanted to bring up some of these concerns to you. I have every confidence in your abilities to serve on the trustees representing the first senatorial districts. District.
See, and Senator, there is an old saying in procrastination, and this is in their office during the Tenor administration, you know, the office. There was a sign in front of their office that says, "Lack of your planning is not an emergency on my part." And that's from the chairwoman's office when we were at the administration at that time. So procrastination is a problem. It's a chronic problem here. You know, they're only interested in when there is a sign of emergency and they jump up. So I hope that with this thing, you know, that work in collaboration with the legislature and everybody, that we can do this and we'll start doing from scratch. But like I said, it's not late yet to engage the service of a professional, what do you call this, surveyor and appraiser, and let's do this so that we know what is our net value.
Thank you. Are you at this time?
Thank you, Senator Donald Mimonia. My turn. In line with Senators Paul and Donald Mimonia's questioning about the disclosure of DPL financial statement, they're a public office. Certainly there's no secrecy in the government unless we are not a democracy. So I think they should be able to open their financial statements to other government agencies. And I know for a fact that in the past, DPL has been withholding funds from MPLT. And the reason why I say that is because they were conducting educational scholarships, awarding educational scholarships as if they were the seat of my scholarship office. They were conducting art contests. So those are funds that are being withheld from MPLT. I just wanted to bring that up to your attention. And also in line with Senator Donald Mimonia's information about NMDs and the registration, CEC at last count gave us an estimated number of 10,215 registered NMDs. And this is in line with his question to you of what is your opinion about distributing the interest income from the NMD corpus managed by MPLT. The average distribution from MPLT to the general fund is roughly about 1.2 million per year. It fluctuates because it depends on the performance of their investments in the stock market. It could go as low as 800,000. And in order to distribute that with the 10,215 registered NMDs, that only amounts to $120 to $220 per year. So that's something for you to consider, because there is a legislative initiative pending in the 23rd legislature right now regarding that. Would you like to add comments?
That in line with that the trustee should be more, what do you call this, take more interest in managing and overseeing the investment. Okay, and we're going to have to look at the money managers of their return. And if they're not returning, cut it off. Because during our time of which Mr. Guerrero and I were with the funds, okay, we engaged a reputable fund consultant, Merrill Lynch. Okay, and every year we sit down and review the money managers that they're doing investing with us, to review their accomplishment and how much are we considering, And let me say this, that of course there are a lot of money managers, particularly with hedge funds and all that. But we should also look at the great performance of the return. We review this. And my thoughts at that time was that the good investment firm was Fisher Investment, JP Morgan's, Goldman Sachs, Chase Manhattan. Those are the reputable. Okay, of course there are others that I haven't mentioned, but at the same time too, one of the best and basic and sound investment is through the U.S. Treasury. The U.S. Treasury, though, its interest is low, but it's guaranteed. Okay? It's better to invest in a guaranteed return rather than having someone come in and say, hey, we are an investment firm. They gave us their package, their portfolio and all that. But we're going to have to see also their, what do you call this, their performance. Are they performing right? So those are the issues. Secondly, I agree with the chairperson that MPLT during the past, I don't think they were honest in establishing how much they have and how much they've earned. Because that thing has been in the books. Sometimes the audit that was something that's 5 years. Having a financial statement that's late 5 years is not excusable. It's got to have to be every year. Like for example, myself, I engage with the bank for my line of credit. And for me to renew my line of credit, I gotta have to give them the latest example every year. Within 90 days, that I have to produce the financial statement to provide them. So therefore, it is not excusable. And that's why my commitment here is, and I hope that the other trustees here will do, is that we're gonna have to monitor greatly and make sure that we get that every year. Because for an investment of $120 for the whole year, my goodness, you got to fire that right away.
Well, I think adhering to that annual audit that's required at this time.
Yeah.
One of the things, you own your own business, you're a retiree, you are your own boss. Why would you be interested in serving as a trustee for MPLT?
Well, Chairperson, you know, I gotta keep moving, or else I'm going to be like a vegetable. And I don't want that.
Just wanted to see what your personal
Okay.
thoughts are on that.
And my wife keeps telling me, hey, slow down. But I said, we gotta move.
Okay, what is your understanding of the mission and purpose of the Marianas Public Land Trust? What is your personal understanding of that? Of the Marianas Public Land Trust? What is your personal understanding of its mission to invest and grow the NMD
my
purpose
personal
established by the
understanding?
covenant?
Well, you know, my personal understanding is really, you know, that we gotta have to perform in our best, okay? Because if you don't, it's useless to be part of the group. If you cannot produce, just be honest and say, I'm sorry, I'm going out.
Have you ever had any experience personally in investing in the stock market? Your own personal funds?
No, I have never experienced in investing on my personal fund because I'm a poor man. I don't have the extra money to do that. Okay, but I had experience with dealing with them, you know, through the agency that we work with. And in fact, when that time with our chairman, you know, Guerrero, during that time, actually it was us that introduced the investment firms to MPLT so that they can expand their investment program. Because at that time, you know, they were just limited. So that, you know, that's the reason why that their investment has greater return. Because, you know, we were talking at that time with the staff of MPLT, and we invited them to attend the annual review of the money managers on their performance. And from that on, that was the start, and we were happy to do it.
Thank you. I don't know if you're aware, but as a direct result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and you know, one may think that it would not affect us, happenings in Europe would not affect us directly, but it did in this situation. As a direct result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, the U.S., through its Department of Treasury, Foreign Asset Control Office, issued sanctions on Russian assets, including Sberbank in Russia. MPLT's money manager, WCM Investment Management LLC, invested at least $226,000 of NMD funds in that bank. As of January 9th of this year, the impounded total amount of MPLT's investment with the Central Bank of Russian Federation, or Sberbank, is now valued at half of that, $13,000, down from its original book value of $226,000. And while current trustees of MPLT have requested the U.S. Department of Treasury for an exemption or approval to liquidate that so we can get that money back, NMDs have been deprived of these funds, and we are aware of it at the legislature. Can you share your thoughts on that and how you would have exercised your authority, duty to protect NMD funds from a situation like this happening again?
You know, I was expecting you to ask that question because when I read on the paper that MPLT cannot get its funds back because somebody were invested and deposited with the Russian bank, it immediately raised the red flag on my ears. because United States banking law, which also applies to the Commonwealth, forbids money, even local and federal funds, to be invested or deposited to a federal deposit insurance corporation banking institution. And to me, that is a violation of the banking law.
Well, I think it's important to know the source of the funds were not U.S. federal funds, they are NMD funds.
Well, with personal funds, I'm not even so sure, but but in terms of money like that, it prohibits. Even just like the famous Boots program, of which money from the federal government was deposited to the Bank of Saipan. The Bank of Saipan is not an FDIC insurance license institution. It is a violation. And they should have done that, and that's a criminal act. And I don't know that I'm going to have to let the legal people take care of that, of how can we get our money back, of who to sue, of what's the legal process. I'm not a lawyer, but during the time that I was the Secretary of Commerce, I was also the banking director for the Commonwealth. That is one of our responsibilities. We manage and we direct and we supervise the banking industry. That's how I knew about that. So, to me, that is a federal violation. And let the legal people take care of that. And I believe that the trustee should pursue that to see how can we recover that and to see what kind of legal action can be taken to whether this one approved by the trustees to engage their service. I don't know.
Well, apparently it has to be approved by the trustees. The money manager made a recommendation, or I'm not even sure if the MPLT trustees knew about it. It wasn't until after the funds were seized.
Yeah, I have to review the file. I have to look at that, because like I said, the first red flag of this, that it should not have been done. It is a violation of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation mandates under the U.S. banking laws.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Which is applicable here.
I have no further questions. I will yield to the other members. Recognize Senator Commonwealth for the second round.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to ask, I know that you are aware of what they call diversified local investment programs under MPLT.
No, I cannot hear you.
Well, I'm sure that you're aware that MPLT fundings are also invested under DLI program, Diversified Loan Investment, Diversified Local Investment.
I don't know that, I'm going to check, but I'm sure that there should be a guideline, of manual of how do we engage investment and, to check the...
So actually, I just want to bring that up again so that this is something I think that as a representative of the First Senatorial District, we should come up with ideas on how to promote that program. Because I'm just concerned because, for example, I have nothing against a company, for example, on Tinian, where they have a plan. It's not the person borrowing money that's the problem. it's when I hear you when you say lack of planning on your part is not an emergency on my part, right? And the reason I bring this up is because there are other companies or individuals or businesses that want to borrow from CDA, banks, or even NPLT. And at times NPLT will say they don't have money, right? But because DPL is holding the money, somehow, in the last administration, they pressured DPL to submit $1 million to NPLT and turn around and take that $1 million and direct it to a particular loan that is on the table for NPLT. So I'm saying that NPLT should have a plan of what are the priorities in diversified local investments so that we do not come at the last minute and only when it's available that we entertain a loan. So it's because there's no planning. And so I'm saying that maybe you should have a plan on where to direct these monies for local investment. I think we should encourage that. And I'm bringing that up now because with the military BULA, right? For example, these loans do not necessarily have to be to individuals, but to government agencies or programs. So when we, when for example, we want to work on our infrastructure, maybe the airport, we need a fuel farm. So we just need to leverage a loan with CPA so that we can build the fuel farm. So, I think that we need to, we met with some group, the Matrix Design Group, for example, a week ago, and they're here to assist the administration in leveraging the military build-up with our economy, right? So when MPLT has to be active with CPA or DPL or CEDA, right? So that we can address some of our infrastructure needs and leverage, for example, the interest payment annually. It might be 1.2 million, but right now it seems like we're using that 1.2 for emergency. We need something at CUC. Let's use that, commit the next 5-6 years for that, or we go to address other infrastructure needs. It's only on emergency basis, but I think this is the opportunity now to work with the Matrix and also with the military and see how we can leverage some of this. I know we talked earlier about royalty, and Senator Selena mentioned there's 10,000 NMD. I'm sure that once this program or this plan proceeds, there might be 50,000, maybe 100,000. We don't know. They're all over the U.S. that are NMD. So the money will be maybe just $10 per person. We don't know. So we need to start talking about leveraging, using this money to get bigger projects. And that's why I think that the increase income na yung 1.2 million na sa biti guasya ti manmapatu ni DPL low constitution na ti aseri but usas ti interest payment para NMDA. It goes to the general fund. So nagwanit tawong na ilininya mela that amende constitution that series DPL o fondo loki project para Hanun, Chalan, Sewer, the homestead programs. So once we use that, then maybe hindi mas sinya tataka uso ni NMD sa NMD sinya magaitan mo sinya manay homestead. Pues ang kita di board waktu di program homestead sa tapamamaplan para homestead. Then beti tinisado ta tugi check 10 pesos kada taon sinya ta reach out mas no NMD di housing program, homestead program no sige na then taza resistance gini ni FPLT na bata contrano sa parwati di homestead. Mulanya na tanay biti para i homestead program sa sepe mamiresi mas i Dr. NMD na kini patatugi check $5 cada uno cada sacan. No, pues deve ta sapotta no i patanagwa plano para tasovi cada isla homestead no infrastructure development.
You know, no, Chair, Senator Manglona, I certainly agree with you, but we're going to have to sit down and exactly develop a plan of what is eligible, no? And then we can move on. The policy, you know, for each individual to come in, it's going to be hard, but if you have an eligibility requirement, what project can be funded, how much is this, then that would be a guideline.
Procedure I'm saying na MPLT masarti so honesty because siya investment na gaigi dipili kwa plano na temano pata benefit for example cada isla pues kita luta mata mga programa no na siya ta zauzi za ta na meresi tau uno na programa por exemplo i mantanonu waktu kan majuti esta ji na CUC lo sina ji ta na moli na pai ta noi para bunga para IPA tu sedi na para magime nejo lo sina ta noi para si Mr. Gas Martita para hydroponic or hydro di aquaculture, right? Sa di parte asi siya na ono sina ta paisa IPA pakegi nejo como ti pa magime na pues iti uno sinya ta fan itu na program ta pega sia lado papa gi Uliza at the same time siya kita anti di like isa kan coronation waktu siya na Paulo ta patiloki siya la chiria siya gi na era za ini por example a benefit di total sa total manlalan su gini ne pues programa project depois da identifican pues itu nata fan long di como per caso ta create water district ta na fan azo ji za itigi ta usa di kada sakan one
or to establish an agency, you put in the grant, and then the application will go through the agency.
Pues ini lele kuti nijuin lo como na plano da ta ajuda then tadererek i sala PMPOT za menos epic decision in the future na no esse sala PMPOT tita session na lo como mapega que no sea ki homestead infrastructure ki hano no.
Senator, I agree with you because like we can pattern this night through the what do you call this through the USDA no farmers program.
Ina bena Canada state ga usasana nesti sa Betelokis lalang no si Joko frustration na sa disaster relief ini uno na que explicado para mangatsumoni maniluta gi senador siya gi ninsaipan na 100 million ja taza no ane ilinya lani deputy tausasti sinoma malingo 100 million pues apa bidanya matsudi waktu 12 million para garapan mababa siya tsala ya lunggarapan sa ilinya nesta di shovel ready sta pa magasta 11 million no lo ita taza gini ito offer no planuta gi agency siya na sinamon maaso magi masya 2 million na ta tsogi pinata o ta tsogi homestead offer pues ya 100 million taza mano para luta na okay na waha talo ji disaster loan 100 million talo ji taza mano para luta no pues mogay no man meeting delegation no ibu na delegation za molik sa housing anoi kan 3 million lo mogay taza plano di agency no pues I'm just mentioning this como agency cada agency housing CDA MPOT esses agencies na plano nia né then kung bueno siya na grant sa lapi na dyan gua disaster parafa sipi gua mafundo mo gi seguidas pues ito na no gimabada na bago po si governor dan si lieutenant may for example pago na mali na menos project mo gi ma-agree na este solar for all para o pudi locate i study ki grid system te afecta no i ROTA grid system po manapona i solar gini di na slata at least man beneficio i bandan CUC payment
Noted.
Chechenik pago na para malology i solar gini sa beneficio lo. That's another area is the solar no na project no sinya BTMPLT manajuda gi tikinubi bateria sinya ta uji bateria ko stitch ka poingi na benefit because the bottom line mention is na to CST planning no da para planning tapi ta mi se siya na opportunity gi sinya mon ajuda pues Madam Chair no takilo compensao is Mr. De La Cruz na dangkulo sempre no na beneficio i comunidad merece i zona service como ta confirm dinancho avana para dingo si ya seguana para o sacrificio que recurso no dangkulo corazonya para ufana ajuda gi comunidad gi isla gi economia gi zaluta za no bago po no may accepta i pang voluntario para un sacrificio para un servicio just masit
And you know, Senator, as what you say, the bottom line is, as the late Mr. McPheeters will say, the right thing to do is establish the plan. We establish the plan, we adopt the plan, we follow up. But the concept here is that when the plan is established by one administration, and the other one come in, they throw away everything because that's not their plan. There's no continuity.
A good example na Madam Chair and members i Bantalan sige most of the ingasta kan 1 million sa lapi no 702 for mauzu study feasibility study hired engineer and environmental people para ma-design i Bantalan sa Sanosa zati naachik iji Bantalan sa Sanosa na i-study lelignya devi para sa Sanosa guazi tita agree usulo tagasta toluji kana 1 million pues ma-cancel i plan hindi na preciso sti machogin molik fera di plan gua o machogin molik i plan no. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. I don't think we have any further questions. Mr. De La Cruz, do you have any parting words? I will hold you a few minutes if you want to say any closing remarks.
Well, Chairman, Chairwoman, and members, I think that we have gone through a lot of diatribes here, that we have discussed certain issues back and forth, that the concerns that you raise, that I will plan to bring this up with the trustee should ever I confirm. And I look always forward to try for us to get together so that we can exchange ideas of how we can do a better plan, of how we can do a better work. Because, you know, no, I feel that I am an individual who like to discuss things and I listen to what other people says. And I appreciate your time, and I hope that my presentation to you is, gives you an idea of who am I and what I've gone through, okay? And through my years of service for the Commonwealth, I believe that I have had contribution I would like to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz, for affording us part of your day to spend with us answering our questions. We have no further questions. You are hereby dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, it is now 11:57 a.m. and this committee meeting will be in recess until 2 p.m. this afternoon, where we will receive and vet the nomination and credentials of Ms. Chanel Banglonia, nominated for the Northern Marianas Technical Institute. We are now in recess.